apply to business and to life. If I'm the captain of a ship and I know the destination where I'm going, 99% of the time, I won't see the port of destination. I won't see it. I have to understand that if I just travel and I do what I'm supposed to do, eventually I'm going to get there. The captain doesn't say, well, just because I can't see the port of destination, I'm not going to leave. I'm just going to stay here and wait. No. With vision, right, and understanding and belief and knowing where you want to go, you set the trail, you set the path, and you work towards it every single day.
You talked about these bricks, right, that you're kind of setting in a certain way. And you grew up in Argentina,
yes,
right? So we all grew up in different places. You grew up in Argentina, I grew up in Switzerland. And the place where we live, the environment, the culture we grow in, obviously is going to impact and limit our beliefs,
yes,
and our self-beliefs. What's acceptable, what's not, what's possible, what's not. How does the young Argentinian, Singaporean, American, or even Swiss teenager, or let's say, early 20, deprogram himself and sort of, as you'd say, like get out of the matrix to set himself up for insane success?
So first is understanding that you're not what your religion tells you are. You're not what your parents tell you are. You're not what your friends tell you are. In fact, you're not even what you tell yourself you are, because you don't even truly understand your limitless potential. So when you live in a situation whereby you're limited by the opinions and the insecurities and the projections of other people, what you're doing is you're limiting your potential and your growth for self-development. And the first part is understanding that you can become whoever you want to become. If you want to become successful, you will become successful. If you want to become rich, you will become rich. If you want to become literate, you will become literate. If you want to become well-traveled, you will become well-traveled. But you can't want something and then do another 100 things that are an antithesis or completely opposite to the goal that you want. So if I want to get rich, well, I'm going to have to pay the price. If I want to travel the world, I'm going to have to pay the price. And most people, they want something, they wish things, but they don't truly want them and then work towards them. So know where you want to go, know what you want, and then don't want other 100 things that are completely opposite to the achievement of that goal. So you don't have to have a ton of goals. Establish, 2, 3 goals, things that are easily executable and easily achievable. You don't have to go out and make $1 million tomorrow. No, relax. What is the next book about business and leadership that you should read? Mm-hmm. How should you be working out and eating and taking care of your health? How do you treat your relationship with your mom and your dad and your siblings? Well, that's going to easily translate into how you treat your business partners. So how you do the small things is how you do the big things. And like I said before, you just master building that foundation, building those little bricks day by day. And once you zoom back out, you'll see the beautiful creation, the beautiful artwork that you've built with your life. And it'll be a masterpiece for everybody to observe and be like, this guy lived a great life.
And maybe to kind of take off of the magic, right? Oh, this person is so successful, or this person is so fit. There's a process behind everything.
Yes.
There's a process behind everything. You want to get fit, like you can count your macros and train 4 or 5, times a week go with a PT. You want to build wealth. There is a process to build wealth. You want to build a business, you want to build a personal brand. There's a process behind every freaking thing. And it's kind of boring once you understand that, because you're like, man, I'm just repeating the same shit every day. But that's where most people kind of fail, because we're all looking for like the thrill and the thrill of the new thing. But actually all these things that we need to do to like get successful in one area or another of life is just based on processes.
The process and in the preparation, you have to, if you want to become a billionaire, if you want to become a millionaire, you have to develop the philosophies, the ideas, the habits, the work ethic of this type of persona, of this character, in order to then become that type of individual. Abraham Lincoln famously said, if I had 6 hours to cut down a tree, I would spend the first 5 sharpening the axe. So it's not about just the hustle, and it's not just about the grind, it's about the preparation, it's about the effort, it's about the dedication. Yeah, you see Usain Bolt, right, on stage with the gold medal. You see Michael Phelps on stage with the gold medal, but you don't see jumping in the pool for fucking 10 years. You don't see having to run sprints in the middle of Jamaica in the heat for decades. No, you don't see that. But it's easy to criticize, the people sitting in the red carpet or standing on the red carpet from the motherfucking carpet of your own home when you have really nothing to do or you haven't accomplished anything. So it's understanding that it's a process, understand that there's a lot of sacrifice, brother, involved in becoming somebody great. And it's going to require literally your life force energy to materialize these dreams into reality.
It's really interesting that we talk about that because I wrote a bunch of things around that. Public rewards versus private practice. So I think it's today or 2 days ago, there was Tony Robbins on a podcast called My First Million Podcast, which we all know. And he talked about the concept of it's what you do in the dark that puts you in the light. And then he gives the example. You gave some example. He gives the example of Stephen Curry, 500 shots a day, 3,500 shots a week, 180,000 shots a year, 2.7 million shots in 15 years of practice. Out of 16,000 game shots with 3,500 makes, he's one of the best of all time. Less than 0.1% of his shots are seen in a game. Can you give some personal examples that show that success all comes down to obsession, sacrifices, practicing day in and day out, being consistent, patient, and persistent?
Yes. I would probably attribute it at the beginning of my career. I would say e-commerce, building an e-commerce business has taught me foundational skills that then translate into everything else that you do. So people say, well, I'm going to go do one job like sales, or I'm going to go do e-commerce, or I'm going to go build a digital marketing agency, or I'm going to build a data analytics company. But what are the skills that you're learning? No, you're not just building a data analytics company. You're learning how to become a CEO. You're learning how to become a leader. You're learning how to become a well-polished individual. You're learning how to balance a checkbook. You're learning how to balance emotions. You're learning how to balance your employees' emotions. So what e-commerce taught me was a few foundational skills. One is that marketing and distribution are more important than the product. So if you have a great product, but nobody sees it, you're fucked. It doesn't matter what business you're in. It doesn't matter if you're in crypto. It doesn't matter if you're in finance. If nobody knows what you have to sell, nobody's going to see it. So one of the essential skills that I learned is I need to learn how to garner, manage, and distribute my product. Number one. Number two, sales, right? Absolutely. If you want to make money, you have to sell. You have to sell. Now, in order to make money and sell, there's 3 areas that you need to master. Number one, you need to be the best at what you do. You don't want to get hired for being cheap. You want to get hired for being the best. Number two is what you do in sales needs to be in high demand. You don't want to be selling Eskimo, an Eskimo ice. People are like, I can sell anything to anybody. Yeah, but that necessarily doesn't mean that you're going to be able to make a ton of money. So what you need to do is needs to be in high demand. You need to be the best at what you do. And then finally, you need to be irreplaceable, right? Can you be replaced by AI? Can you be replaced by somebody else? That's a question that needs to be answered. So I figured out in sales, I need to be the best at what I do. So if I'm selling a product or a service, people need to see me as a person of reputable standards. I need to be in high demand. So what I'm going to be selling needs to be in an evergreen niche. We saw so many, hype niches or themes come up in crypto over the last couple of years, all sorts of shit, but they were just fads, right? It wasn't sustainable because it wasn't in high demand. And then finally, you need to be, like I said, the best at what you do in high demand, and you need to be irreplaceable. So can somebody replace you? So when you look at your skill sets, you need to ask yourself, well, what now can AI not replace? So what are you building today that AI can't replace? I was telling recently another podcast host, I had the privilege to ask a couple questions to one of the co-founders of OpenAI many years ago before I launched Capital Club. And he told me, I asked him, hey, should I build an AI company? He's like, no, don't build an AI company. Build an AI-proof company. Build something that AI will never be able to replace. Because he's like, you're going to go building AI with who? Against all the MIT kids, Stanford kids, against all these nerds, all these think tanks. So you're going to have a very hard time. But if you can establish a moat as to what is something that AI cannot replace, like self-development, community, personal growth, then you have the ability to sell in a way that AI can't replace. So marketing, distribution, and sales are the 2 kind of beacons and pillars that I've established as essential necessities for winning in business.
And on the top of that, authenticity.
For sure, bro.
Because a lot of people think that being good at sales is being good at bullshitting, right? The thing is, if you do that, you'll get people for the first round, but they'll never come back, and you're gonna ruin your reputation.
What I tell people, just to follow that, is if you sell something to somebody that they don't need, you're not a good salesman. You're a con artist. So when you sell, you need to sell ethically, and you need to sell understanding that you're there to serve people.
Absolutely. Basically, how can I provide you as much value as possible? And that's my problem. Not ask for anything because you make the assumption that, but the smart people, they'll understand, like, oh man, you're giving me something, I'll give you something back, right? It's all about providing so much value and doing it in a just, I'm not asking you for anything. Like, ideally, you're in a position where you don't even need, you're like, oh, this is all bonus, right? And again, I mean, I don't want to talk about Naval too much, but he's talking about using authenticity to escape competition. He's saying basically, if you use authenticity, you're never going to have anyone that you're competing with, because no one can compete with yourself, right?
I agree. I mean, most people compete instead of creating, but that's because most people don't want to become the best version of themselves. They want to become what they perceive as a better version than themselves, which is what they see in somebody else be or what somebody else posts to be. When you have the same capabilities, you have the same potential, you just have to work for it extremely, extremely hard. And what I like about the internet is that the internet doesn't take bullshit, right? So now as the creator economy begins to develop, and as you know, people spend time online, things become more transparent. So people will be able to identify authenticity, they'll be able to identify truth, and then they'll be able to identify bullshitters.
Probably blockchain will help in that, because you have all these AI.
For sure. Because
one of the key problem now is like AI. We don't even realize, most of us, but we're in 2024, there is US elections this year. And there was, I think it was Raoul Pal saying, during the US elections, you're going to have crazy arguments with your neighbors, your family members, people you love, just because of AI piece of contents that are going to be targeted at you to make you go crazy, right? And one thing where blockchain can really help is to prove whether all these piece of contents are actually true or not.
The only issue with that, bro, is when you start playing with the humanization and the digitalization of personal identities. So it's like, oh, well, now we need to make sure that whoever's on Instagram or whoever's on Twitter is actually a real human. So now you have to submit your ID. And that's where shit gets kind of crazy. But I look forward to this future, bro. It's going to be fucking wild, because now you don't even know who's commenting. For all you know, Zuckerberg's got all these motherfucking profiles running 24/7, just blasting comments to cause engagement, cause triggers, and for all you know, it's just a troll farm.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Absolutely.
And it's happening. It's happening. I mean, it happens all the time. I think there was an intelligence company out of Israel called Project Judas, and they had 30,000 Twitter accounts, and they would kind of control narratives through those Twitter accounts. And they're not real people. It's just a couple individuals. Now with AI, it's going to be super powered. And I agree with you, bro. It's going to fucking break a lot of people's minds, bro. It's going to be crazy, dude. Fuck. I didn't even take that into perspective for the election, bro.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be wild.
There was already, I mean, Trump won like thanks to data and social media, but it was not like advanced AI like that. So now it's going to be this, but on steroids.
Wow, bro.
So we talk about how much you need sacrifices, patience, consistency, persistence to make it, right? When you're starting to build a company. The problem is millennials and Gen Z, they're impatient as fuck. Because we live in a world where we have everything at our fingertips, right? Coffee, food, dates, porn. Anything we want just at the click of a button. But the really good things in life, a career, a relationship, a business, good health, wealth, they all come from daily compounding, right? Of small actions. What's your message to our impatient generation today if they want to be truly successful tomorrow?
Be impatient towards the good things. Be impatient towards doing the good things every single day. Be impatient towards waking up and going to the gym. Be impatient to get on your sales calls and close those clients. Be impatient to pick up that book and read. Instead of being impatient about the results, be impatient about the input. because you can't control the output. You can control how many seeds you plant. You can't figure out which seed is going to grow and how many apples are going to come from that apple tree. You can't control that. You can't control the day you're going to become a millionaire. If you say, I'm going to become a millionaire in 1 year, good luck, motherfucker, because if that year rolls around and you're not a millionaire, you're going to feel like shit. You're going to feel unsuccessful. But if you're like, my success is determined by my input and not my output, dude, being patient as a motherfucker, getting that input, grinding, understanding that money, success is a lagging indicator. So hustle, do what you have to do on the input, and then let by natural law, which is a principle that applies to the universe, right? Action causes reaction, input causes output. Focus on what you can control, be impatient about becoming great, and the rest will play out.
It's essentially what Gary Vee says when he says micro speed, macro patience. It's exactly that.
That's very good.
I'm Swiss. In Switzerland, we don't talk about money. We don't even know or dare to ask our parents how much they make.
Really?
You don't do that, no?
Wow.
That's how much taboo the topic of money is in Switzerland. At least, might have changed now, but I mean, I'm not old, but like, you know, I don't know how much my father makes or how much he made. Like, and you don't ask that, right? You talk a lot about money, and there is a lot of hate towards men who preach about making money. Why do you think openly talking about money and about making money is so important?
Because money is just a tool. So I talk about money just like I talk about health, just like I talk about self-development and picking up a book and learning topics that you enjoy. Money's just a tool. Money's just a weapon that you utilize to accomplish your goals, but it's essential. And most people have no literacy when it comes to money. I was doing some research as to how the Bible was translated into English. When John Wycliffe, began translating the Bible, he was persecuted. He was persecuted by the clergymen that had the Bible in Latin, and he was persecuted by the Pope, and he was persecuted by the religious political powers. Why? Because at that time, religion was the language of the elite. And it's what kept people in slavery. It's what kept people in bondage and in fear. Today, now that, these spiritual texts have been translated and anybody can digest them, the tool of suppression is no longer religion, it's finance. So finance has now become the language of the elite. There's a reason the tax code is so complicated. There's a reason why they don't teach you money in school. There's a reason why these things are complicated. And it's not because they have to be complicated. It's because they're designed to keep you away from understanding that there are valuable parts of life that you need to master. So when you understand that language is also correlated to your ability to understand, what my goal is to simplify these concepts so that people don't fear them and that they can understand them in a very basic way so that they don't have to depend on a tax accountant, so that they don't have to depend on somebody to tell them how to make money.
A banker.
Exactly.
That takes massive
they're all the middlemen. They're all the middlemen to God. In God we trust.
Absolutely.
But go through me, motherfucker. That's what they tell you.
That's a really compelling one, because I'm in the banking sector. It's, if you start to, for me, like the journey was since I was probably 21 or 22 when I started the first company. I wanted to retire before 30, right? Whatever that means, a certain number. So I was like, how do I retire before 30? And then we had some employees and we had, a pension, because you have to invest in a pension for your employees. So I was like, how do I, with my pension and with other people's pension, invest this money to retire as quickly as possible? And then you start from there to understand how the entire system is made, that every pension,
it's fucked.
bro. In the UK, you have this self-investment pension plan, SIPP,
I know,
right?
The government invested on your behalf.
So
fucked,
then you
bro.
understand the whole thing, which is you're like, okay, how do I start? I'm going to start about reading about timeless principle of investing. There's not that, they all say the same, right? The little common sense of investing, a bunch of these books. Also, Tony Robbins, he wrote a really good one, which is Money Master the Game and Unshakable, and very simple ones after the great financial crisis to help millennials invest and to make them understand that it's actually not hard. It's just made harder by the ones who need to take a fees, right? And so
you need the middleman to God.
Exactly.
And the person that can be the middle